Good morning, everybody. Edward Leos here, publisher of the Hotel Guide and your host of Travel Talk. Man, I'm really excited about today's segment. I've got Mindi Cooke with Reunitus here on the session. And we were talking offline about some of the great things that their company is doing and what she's doing as well. And I know we're going to get into that. But Mindi, great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's going to be a fun one. So, as I like to start my segments, I think it's always important for our guests to for our listeners to actually know, hey, who are we talking to? So, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who you are, maybe how you got to your role at Reunitus, and then we'll kind of get into exactly what the company is and some benefits from that as well.
Absolutely. Well, interestingly enough, like many people, I've had a couple different careers. I started out in fashion, worked for some notable names like Tommy Hilfiger and Martha Stewart, manufacturing, merchandising, and all of that. And, COVID was kind of a pivotal moment in my career where, like most fashion companies, they had a lot of layoffs. And I went, wow, what am I going to do? And so through some friends and different connections, I got connected with Reunitus and started doing business development and really helping them grow their business outside of just the airlines. And so now I oversee all business development for what we call non-airlines, which really could be anything from casinos, hotels, car rentals, theme parks, you name it, Metro Transit. So really working with different companies to provide our solutions.
That's awesome. So that's a great segue, telling us a little bit about how you are. I didn't know the fashion background, so that's pretty cool. So, that's a good thing right there. But when you're talking about Reunitus, why don't you educate our listeners to what Reunitus is and some of the top benefits that you bring to the table?
Absolutely. So Reunitus is really end-to-end solutions for all things lost. If you think about, if you are a passenger on an airplane and you lose your item and you go, wow, I need to get it back. We have software that helps reunite that item with you. We also work with casinos and hotels with that software to help reunite items. And so that's just one portion of it. We have a software, which is called NetTracer, is pretty robust in so many things that it does. It's bag tracing. I mean, I was on vacation with my friend and her bag was delayed, and it was our software that helped get it back to her. It was amazing to see it go through the process. It also does fraud and claims management and really helps the airline connect with the customer to reunite unclaimed bags. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we also have the sustainable solution to purchase unclaimed bags instead of having them go to landfill once they're unable to be reunited with their owner. And I would say airlines are exceptionally good at reuniting bags. I know a customer does not feel that way in the middle of the process, but the reality is 99.7% of all lost and mishandled bags are actually reunited. And we have a big part of that.
Yeah, I've actually been on the receiving end of that a couple of times when your luggage was lost or delayed or something. But you're right; it both times my luggage was reunited with myself. So that's actually a good thing, and that's actually bodes well for what you're doing, because when you're traveling, the last thing you want is to have your luggage or stuff lost. And so, are there any tips with regards to traveling that you can think of that maybe travelers should be thinking about when they're traveling or utilizing your software or services?
Well, it's interesting as you think about traveling, and, one of the biggest challenges to reuniting a bag that's lost is the fact that it's what they call tag off bags, right? You put identification on the outside, you've got great little luggage tag, but those conveyor belts will chew up your luggage and things come off or the handle gets broken. And so really one of the most important things is put identification inside. They will open it up and see what's in there. I actually have written in Sharpie on one panel of my luggage that says my name and my address. Or if I'm going to traveling and going to be in one place for a week, I'll actually put a piece of paper in that says my name and address and cell phone, and then where I'm staying. So, because that's really the best way to get it back to you if there's identification on the inside. And then a fun one you may not think of is, those little barcodes that they put on your luggage when you check it. if you don't remove those, that can really confuse the computer. And so you're more likely to get lost. So I would say always, always remove those from your luggage before you check it again. But the safest way really is if you don't check luggage, but that's not necessarily possible if you're going somewhere for 3 weeks and you want to take enough stuff. So,
Sure.
I get that.
That's definitely packing minimally, and that
Yeah.
is totally not me at all. I am an overpacker for sure. If I'm giving two luggage, the ability to bring two pieces of luggage on, more than likely I'm bringing two pieces of luggage on because you just never know. You
You
never
never
know.
know. You got to have the right outfit for the right time, for the right experience. I get that.
Yes, I do remember when I was traveling a couple of times where I would purposely leave something behind just so I could go shopping and buy something wherever I was, which probably not the smartest thing to do, but
Right, right.
it was rather fun thing to do. So that's really interesting how I never thought about that, about putting identification on the inside of a luggage. Normally everybody thinks get the bright luggage, get that the tag that's on it and any way you could see it. But we never really think about, yeah, the inside stuff is just as important as what's on the outside for identification. So that's actually that's gonna be a top tip right there for our listeners right there. I mean, I didn't even know, and I've been in the travel business for 31 years, but that's a great takeaway right there. So let's transition a little bit from Reunitus and let's talk about you personally, and we'll jump back into it as well. But we always talk travel. I always love to ask my guests these questions because I think it's important to have a baseline of the people that we're dealing with. But what are some of your favorite travel destinations that you've been to so far in your life?
Well, it's a good question because I've traveled personally with my husband and family, but also traveled for work. And so with work, I had opportunities to go to China, Shanghai, Hong Kong, India, Delhi, as well as Dubai. And so those were quite fascinating in so many different ways because all of them are very different
Yeah.
culturally from us. And so there's fascinating things about all of those places. And personally had the opportunity to travel to Africa as well as South America, Bolivia, and then of course around the United States and a
Wow.
little bit in Europe. So I guess favorite, I think when we went to Africa, we went to Jinja, Uganda, and it was fascinating because it was totally different culturally, and the people were so much fun. And we took a ride down the oh my goodness. Oh, the source of the Nile. That's right, water rafting, the source of the Nile, which is
Oh,
in.
wow.
So it was a fascinating experience and totally different from the food to the culture to the weather, you name it. Transportation, very, very interesting, very fun.
It's interesting because our editor in chief was in Africa probably about a month and a half ago, and she actually said she almost did not come back.
Yeah.
She loved it so much. She said there was just something magical about Africa that was not only inviting, but it was almost just, I don't want to use the word mythical, but it was something that was just, it was calling to her. So it's interesting that that's one of the places you picked as far as your favorite places as well.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool right there. So those are places you've been to. And
Yeah.
I always like to ask the guests, what's on your bucket list? I know you've been to a lot of places. You said a lot of great places there, but any travel bucket list items?
So amazingly enough, I've never been to Italy, and
Wow.
that would love to go. Or Greece, the Amalfi Coast, and just how beautiful that is. The wine, the food, the experience, the sun, just the idea of,
Sure.
a beautiful old architecture and, getting an Airbnb for a month and just living there would be kind of fun. I mean, that just the idea of that is quite lovely. So I have to figure that out at some point, but Italy is definitely the top of the list.
Yeah, Italy is on my bucket list too. And it's someplace that you see all the movies, you see all the food and the wine and just the landscapes. And it's one of those things that beckons you to want to be out
Yes.
there. When you said Amalfi Coast, man, I see photos of the Amalfi Coast and we've had those on the hotel guide and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine that experience actually being there. So very similar stuff right there. So we'll switch back to Reunitus and we'll talk a little bit about the company before we kind of wind up here. Our time always goes by so fast. But any big things coming up, not only for the rest of the year into 2025, that maybe our listeners should to know about the company, or any travel trends that you're kind of hearing about?
Well, there's a few things that are on the horizon that I can't quite share yet. I would say from a just from a development standpoint with the software, thinking through, we're always thinking about the end user and the guest
Mhm.
experience, and the empathy that's needed
Yeah.
in relating, because when someone loses something, whether it's a bag or whether it's you left, I was on a plane, and there was a mom and her son, and the kid left his backpack at the gate, and she was like, do we stay on the plane, do we get off the plane, and it's just this turmoil that you go
Yeah.
through. And so we're always trying to evolve how we create the user experience with the software, so that it's empathetic in that
Mm.
we can solve a problem. We know you have a problem. We're going to help you. We're going to help you find it. So there's always new things and updates that we do continually with our software, so that when you do lose it, you feel like, wow, there's a solution. I mean, I realize when I get stressed about things, knowing that something's being done just gives you comfort. And so
Yes.
I guess that's one of the things that we're always evolving in that. And then of course, just making it faster, quicker, easier. There's lots of AI that's being added into it, photo recognition, from a lost to found standpoint, that's being worked on. That's just, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that does sound interesting. I was actually in a travel conference probably about 2 months now, 2 months ago in Las Vegas, and they were talking about the advent of AI and the integration into a lot of our travel itineraries, options, everything. And it's interesting and fascinating to see how AI is starting to a big role in a lot of the stuff that we utilize. Not only to make it better, some people are like, "Oh my God, you said AI!" Like, but I think all of us as consumers are actually excited when things are quicker and faster to us, especially if you've lost something. That's when you're stressed. That's when your stress level goes up. Already traveling can kind of be a little stressful. You're at the airport, especially if you have a connecting flight. Am I going to make it? Are we delayed? And then you're wondering about that. And, then if you lose your luggage, you're just like, okay, what's next?
Right,
And you
right.
haven't even started your trip yet.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Yes, traveling is stressful. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you guys are making it less stressful. I love the name, actually, Reunitus. I own a marketing firm too, so I think that's a really cool name. So it just flows off your tongue, and it actually says what it is, and so that's pretty cool right there. But so as we're wrapping up, if people are wanting to find out about your company or learn more about it, not just from the consumer side, but from the business side, if we've got hoteliers or casino properties or anyone outside the airlines who want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to find out information on Reunitus?
Well, of course, our website, reunitus.com. But also info at Reunitus goes straight to me. I'd happily answer any questions, help figure out any challenges they have. There's so many different things that we do within the hotel and hospitality, airline, airport industry, whether it's unclaimed items left behind by guests and you go, wow, what do I do with these? So we have a sustainable solution to keep those out of landfill, whether it's reuniting items with guests. All of that can be found at Reunitus.
That's awesome. We have like about a minute left, but touch a little bit on the sustainability program that you have. I never heard of that, never thought about it, but yeah, you have all this luggage. It's just there. And so tell me a little bit about how that program works.
Well, in the airline industry, you have you have all these bags that
Mhm.
you lost and mishandled, and again, like we said, 99.7% get reunited. There's that small portion that just for whatever
Yeah.
reason tag off, like we talked about, no identification, and the ability to get back. Well, what do the airlines do with them? And so what we do is we upcycle, recycle, refurbish, resell the items that are there. Some are donated, some are recycled, and that's through our retail store, Unclaimed Baggage, where it really gives the lost items a new life.
Mhm.
And it really is, it's a great program because there's people, as much as you want to reunite an item with someone, there's always things that just get left behind, whether they choose not to come back for it. But the reality is, this allows it to keep it out of landfill and give it a new life.
Yeah, that's such an incredible program. I'm really glad that you shared that information with us. Like we said, our time goes by so quickly, but it's been a pleasure having you on the call today, Mindi.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Perfect. Perfect. For all of our listeners and our guests out there, please like, please share, please subscribe to our podcast channel. And obviously follow us at thehotelguide.com. That's where you're going to, that's our little corner of the world where you're going to find out information on what's going on. But as we like to say, and end every call with, travel, let's make some memories. And until next time, everybody, take care. We'll talk soon.